Recording in progress, it says. Continue. Okay. Hello, hello. Okay. Okay, people are, they're still not, they're not on. They're there, but they're not on. Here we go. There we go. John, there you are. Thought we were just going to have to see the forehead all night. John, you're not a mezcal guy, right? But how do you feel about scotch?
We've talked about scotch. I can deal with a little bit of smoke, but not much peat.
Got it. Got it. I think the last time we did a scotch one, we did Glenmorangie, which has no peat. And it's quite tasty. Okay, just checking. Just checking. Dan, welcome. How are things in Durham?
They're good up here. How about you?
Oh, they're good. They're good.
Cool.
We it looked like rain today, so we made a backup plan. So we're not coming from Alley 26 tonight. We found other digs.
Aha. Is the fish for this weekend?
It's carved out of an old surfboard, so I hope not.
Okay.
It's not it never was a real fish.
Where are these other digs? Is this home or another bar? Or?
Oh, I wish this was home. Are you kidding me? No, we're at Crook's Corner in Chapel Hill.
Ah, got it.
I knew a guy. Who else is on the thing? Hello. Okay.
And I thought that was going to be one of the bonus questions tonight. Where are you?
Sorry. It's not the Industry Insider series. There's no trivia questions on this one.
Oh, right. Sorry.
Outstanding. Okay. I don't think he heard you. Okay. Well, we're going to let everybody come in kind of gradually for our Choose Your Own Adventure. This is the first time we've done a Choose Your Own Adventure, which hopefully you've cracked the code so far, is you can choose either bourbon or rye. Or if you're like me and you have both handy, you can choose bourbon or rye depending on the drink. Outstanding. We're going to wait just a couple more minutes until we get more of a quorum here.
Hey, Shannon, while you're waiting for your quorum, I have a question.
Please.
I do not have Dolin Rouge Vermouth. And so I have a few questions of a substitute. So I have some Dubonnet.
Okay.
And I actually have some dry Dolin.
Okay. Yeah.
And so my thought was I was going to use this, but if it's too sweet, I could unsweeten it slightly with this.
Yeah.
What do you recommend in this case?
Well, let's play it by. Let me see what we got here.
He's holding Punta Mez. Chuck, use that.
Is that Punta Mez?
And I have the Punta Mez.
Oh yeah, there you go. Thank you. Good eye, Claire.
So which one should I use?
I would let's talk about that per drink. The first drink that we're going to do, which is the kind of introductory kind of wine, the pre-orientation.
Oh, the pre-orientation. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I would use the Dubonnet for that. For the orientation, I would use the Punta Mez.
Wait a minute. This is pre-orientation, the Punta Mez. Oh no, you would use the Dubonnet for the orientation. Okay, and then the Punta Mez. Dubonnet
for pre-orientation.
Got it.
And then Punta Mez for orientation. Okay.
Diane's going to write this down because I'm not going to remember.
Yeah.
Oh, and
that's
Claire
okay. Or
is,
you could just ask me each drink.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Of course. I don't
Shannon,
have.
Are you going to give preferences on whether rye or bourbon goes best with these drinks?
Yes. Yes, I will. But here's the simple fact of the matter is that rye or bourbon will work with all these drinks. Instead of preferences, I'll tell you what the difference is. Is everybody on already? Do we have enough of a quorum to start Anything we want to go over?
You have 20 participants.
You got 20 people on. 2 people reached out and said they're going to be late, but I am recording the event, so you can go ahead.
Perfect. Is one of those people Cornelius?
Cornelius is on.
Oh, hell yeah. I can't see him. Hey. Okay, so let's start with a real
Butlers
quick
from
thing. Glassware. It says a wine glass. I think you all know what that is. It says a small coupe or vintage martini glass. I'm not at our home field, so we're going to use this Nick and Nora. This is like a 4.5 ounce Nick and Nora. This is a Collins glass, but any kind of tall, skinny glass will do. See, this is, you probably can't tell scale, but this is pretty darn slender. And a double old fashioned. What most people call an old fashioned glass is actually a double old fashioned. So this is probably a 9.5, 10 ounce glass. Just for trivia's sake, this is an actual old fashioned, and I believe it's 5 ounces. Okay, so I'm going to take these glasses right here. We're going to put some ice in them. And a little water. And put them to the side so that when we're ready to use them, they'll be nice and chilly. Okay. And then we're going to make a real quick, easy kind of intro cocktail. And for those of you, which is most of you at this point, that have done these repeatedly, I'm going to kind of move things along. But if we have some folks that haven't been on, it's not a huge bunch of you. So you can either A, type it in the chat and Claire will read it out, or you can just unmute yourself, ask me the question, as you've already seen done. Okay, so has anybody not taken this class yet? I'm sorry, what? So everybody's been on this before?
No.
No? Okay. Excellent. So do you have the Dolin Vermouth?
Yes.
Perfect. So this is what we're going to do first. You're going to find some glass that I haven't talked about yet. Just anything that holds any fluid. I'm going to use one of these guys. I'm going to take a jigger. Hopefully you have a jigger.
Yes.
Okay. Pour like a 1/2 ounce into the jigger and then pour that into the glass. So you've now practiced measuring a 1/2 ounce. Now we're going to smell. Can you smell it? Are we doing it?
Yes.
You are. Okay. You're not actually on my screen, so I'm just hearing you. Smells sweet, doesn't it?
Yes.
And what else?
Fruity.
Yeah. Definitely. Like dark cherry. Kind of earthy.
Yes.
And you can taste like winter herbs, right?
Yes, definitely.
Almost like a hint of thyme or rosemary or something. So, okay, so it's delicious. So when I grew up, people were always bad mouthing vermouth, like, oh, vermouth, it's just to wave it over the bottle or something. So the reason we do this is also, you know, that anytime you put anything in the glass, it should taste good, because you can't put a bunch of stuff that doesn't taste good and then expect the drink to taste good. So this is vermouth. Try to keep it fresh, meaning when you open it, drink it. Don't like open it and put it and you store it cold. Treat it like wine. So vermouth is aromatized fortified wine, meaning they took wine, they added a little more alcohol to make it both more stable and but also bring in botanicals. So some of those botanicals they'll soak in the wine, and some of those botanicals, those herbs, the fruit, the flavors that you were smelling, they'll put in the spirit, and then they'll strain out all the botanicals, and they'll mix the wine, the spirit, and then some caramel, which adds a little depth and also some bitterness. and sweetness. Okay, so now we're going to practice measuring again. For those of you who've done a bunch of these, you know we always start with the smallest ingredient. Always is a bad thing to say. We're going to start with the largest ingredient. We're going to go 2.5 ounces of this vermouth. And for those of you playing at home, which is all of you, on this sheet right here, you know, we use that column right underneath the 3 drinks, the 3 drinks for the class. Well, this little box down here, that's our little bonus starter kit. That's pre-orientation. Okay, so if you follow that recipe, it'll show you that we're going to do this because we're building this in the glass, which is why we're starting with the largest first, because these other ingredients, for the most part, are heavier. So we're going to add those on top of. So it says half an ounce of bourbon or rye, 1/4 ounce of pomegranate. I'm going to use the 1/4 ounce of pomegranate next. And then put my bourbon or rye. Now, think bourbon is going to be a little softer, a little sweeter, and rye is going to be a little leaner, and it's going to bring like black and green pepper notes. So depending on where you want to go with this. This is the first one of the evening. So soft and easy sounds good to me. We're going to go with half an ounce. I'm going to use the bourbon for this drink. Right? And then 3 dashes of Peychaud. There's Peychaud, which is the bitters of New Orleans. Now, for those of you who've done this before, you've heard me say this a dozen times, but for those of you who haven't, we're going to do a dash. A dash is not a drop. A dash is like hot sauce. Ready? Like that. You want to make sure you get a dash should equal right about 6 or 7 drops. So it's a lot more than just 1 drop. Last but not least, we're going to put a little orange in this, a little slice of orange. So I'm going to go ahead and slice this right here. How I want to do that, because I'll juice this later like that. Just gonna stick that in there. And there you have it. Cheers. Okay, this is kind of the aperitivo for whiskey lovers. Like the whiskey does not get lost in this, even though it's not the star player, right? How are we doing? Don? He loves bourbon. It says so right on the screen.
It's true. I do. It's delicious. You have really turned me on to sweet vermouth. I used to believe it was only for Manhattans. And since your last bourbon class, I've introduced it to friends as like a nice sort of like before dinner cocktail, and everybody loves it.
Okay, I'm glad to hear it. Well, I think it's pretty easy to turn a bourbon lover onto sweet vermouth, since they are famous compatriots. Okay, well, cheers, everybody. This is the pre-orientation. Oh, and it's just easy. So I figure we get a glass in our hand before I'm going to take care of some more little business of talking about. Don loves bourbon. Don, how do you feel about rye?
I love rye even more than bourbon, honestly.
Okay.
May I show you the selection that I've chosen for this evening?
Please.
You can tell me. Can you see those?
I cannot. Oh, yes, I can. Okay. Ooh, that rare breed will come for you. Love it.
Yeah. So I've got other bourbons and ryes to choose from. Is there anything here that does not belong?
I'm not familiar with the farm stock rye from Whistle Pig. Tell me a little. Is it 86? Is that what it says?
Well, yeah, it's 86 proof.
What's the
this
proof
is my
on
first
that,
time
Nicholas?
trying it. I like the Whistle Pig 10 year. I think the 12 year is probably some of the best they've got, although I've had the Bog and the 15.
Yeah.
This is a little bit spicier than their typical offering. That's about the
Yeah,
only
that
difference.
Boss Hog, of course, is undeniably delicious, but I can't afford to drink that.
Man, I got turned on to it at Alley 26 when you did a break-even bottle, and I loved it, but I can't justify the price tag either.
Yeah, exactly. That's clearly the same place I tasted it.
We've got the same
okay.
whistle pig you had. We
What was
picked up
that?
the same thing. The whistle pig that he was just showing, we've got the same thing.
Okay. Excellent. They make good juice. I don't know. I haven't had that farm stock one, but they haven't made any bad rye, so that's probably good. So I'm using Wild Turkey today for a couple of reasons. So this is Wild Turkey bourbon, and this is Wild Turkey rye. I have found personal preference. I like all the bourbon kind of categories, styles, and I like a lot of different styles in rye. But if I had to choose, I find that I like bourbons that accentuate the rye in their mash bill and ryes that have a lot of corn. So like, I tend to like a bourbon that's more like a rye and a rye that's more like a bourbon. So that's what I'm doing. So now, if you look at this Wild Turkey bottle right on the neck, it says high rye, right? Yeah. Well, it's bourbon, it's not rye whiskey. What does that mean? So the mash bill, or the recipe of cereal grains they use to make a bourbon, by law has to be at least 51% or greater corn. But in practice, it's usually between 60 and 70, high 70s percent corn. That's referred to as the body grain. And then on top of that, you have a flavoring grain, and then you have a little malt. The flavoring grain is either rye or wheat, although there's a small number of 4-grain bourbons that use all 4 of these. But usually a traditional mash bill for bourbon is mostly corn with like 10, 12% rye for that spice note, a flavor note, and then somewhere north of 8%, between 8 and 12% traditionally, of barley malt or malted barley. And that's for the enzymatic activity. The enzymes present in malted barley are very effective at converting starch to sugar. And since the yeast is later going to need to convert the sugar to alcohol to make alcohol, you really need the sugars, not starches. And the only difference is how long the chain is, basically. Starch can be like 50 molecules long, and a simple sugar's no longer than, or yeast can't break anything down that's longer than 3, like a 3 sugar molecule chain. So traditional bourbon mash bill is mostly corn with a little rye for flavor and a little barley malt to make the magic happen, really just to make the enzymatic change happen, which makes the yeast happen. That's pretty much a traditional bourbon. Now, the 2 other popular styles of bourbon are a high rye bourbon, which means we're using more rye than is traditional. So it's a bolder, leaner, spicier, drier expression of bourbon. The legal definition of high rye bourbon is there is no legal definition of high rye bourbon. So if I say it's high rye, then it's high rye. But most people think it's somewhere north of the teens, like high teens, 20s. I think like Bullet is 24. But the folks here at Wild Turkey say 13 is high rye. Now, they've never told you exactly their mash bill, but most people peg it somewhere around 13% rye. And then lastly, the last of the 3 main mash bills in bourbon is a wheated bourbon, like a Maker's Mark or Willet or Buffalo Trace that I saw earlier. And those are the 3: the traditional, which is rye, the high rye, which is the same, just a little more rye in the mash bill, or wheated, which ends up being softer. So if you think about the breads that you would make, cornbread, wheat bread, rye bread, you can definitely tell what the flavor idea was, right? The difference is rye with American whiskey. Basically, there you go, another wheated, very nice. I think I just drink that one.
I think he has.
With rye whiskey, with all the American defined spirits, you basically have a name-checked cereal grain that is the dominant grain. Bourbon is called bourbon, but corn is the body grain. It's the one that has to make up the bulk of the juice, and it's 51% or greater in the mash bill for bourbon. So for rye, it's 51% or greater rye in the mash bill. For wheat whiskey, it's 51% or greater wheat, and for malt whiskey in America, it's got to be 51% or greater malt. Although there are distilleries now making single malt American spirits. So when you're thinking about the difference between bourbon and rye, think about the difference between cornbread and rye bread, right? How softer, rounder, sweeter do you want it to be versus how leaner, kind of spicy, kind of peppery, kind of green pepper do you want with the rye? Does everybody follow that? Any questions? Cool. Okay. So we talked about vermouth and the fact that vermouth is aromatized fortified wine, and you should treat it like wine. So if it's, it lasts any more than a couple weeks, go ahead and just start pouring it on the rocks and drinking it, like Don was saying. It's delicious. If you want to augment it, if you're like, oh, it's a little sweet. Well, fortunately, because you took this class, you have delicious bitters. And bitters behind the bar function as our salt and pepper. They're our spice cabinet. And Peychaud and sweet vermouth do wonderful things together. And it's a really simple way to just enjoy kind of an aperitif wine at the house. Okay, maybe just one more sip, just to, Okay. Okay, so we're going to need some juice for this class. So I'm going to go ahead and juice a little bit. That's what I forgot. I need a little, in that bag over there, there's a measuring cup. There should be 2. Y'all are at home. I'm on the road here, taking our show on the road. So I'm going to go ahead and juice this orange that we took our garnish with. Just yet. Good. Thank you so much. Okay, we're just going to do this. Ooh, hey. Do that. Excellent. So looking over our garnishes, we just looks like we got that guy, an orange twist. We're gonna do a quick cheat here. I didn't mention this on the sheet, but we are gonna do one little lemon wheel. So I'm just gonna cut this guy in the middle, and then take just a sliver, the smallest sliver I can cut.
Are we on the orientation now, or the
We did
sour?
pre-orientation. What we're doing right now is I'm literally just getting my garnishes together because we have a drink in front of us. We're kind of chilling out. We might as well, when you're cooking at home and you have a glass of wine, we got our glass of wine. Now we're doing our prep.
Oh, we shouldn't have
Got
finished
it.
that in like 3 seconds? Okay.
What was that?
We shouldn't have finished that drink in 3 seconds? Okay.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, there's no rush. Okay, and then there's going to be some. Okay, so we're also going to need a half an ounce of lemon juice. So I'm going to go ahead and squeeze this lemon that I cut my one little wheel out of the middle. Oh yeah, we're living the dream here. That was a stingy lemon. So I'm going to go ahead and cut one more. Oh yeah. Did you say I have a plethora of piñatas?
So Shannon, when you put your half of a piece of fruit into the thing you're squeezing, is the fruit up or is the fruit facing down?
Fruit is facing down. So
Aha.
I know it looks like it should
Wow.
follow this, but it's really
Yes.
upside down. So when you
That's-
push through,
See?
you invert the fruit.
We had the marital dispute. I agree with you.
I just lost a quarter.
Okay, well, yeah.
You're gonna have to take a
quarters,
shot.
they're hard to come by.
I always do it down first and then have to flip it to get the rest of the juice out.
I like this guy's answer.
Okay, whatever. I hear you. Sometimes when I'm feeling stingy or when I'm feeling like I really need every last drop, I'll take it on its, I'll do it down and then I'll put it on its side. It come from the side on it. Just because it feels like you could probably, if you squeezed it from the side, you could, well, sure, you could get a few more drops out of that. Yeah, I got like a fat 1/4 ounce there.
I do that too.
Excellent. Okay, so we got a little prep. We got our garnished prepped. We're, I think we're got an orange twist on that one. I said twist, but I just put ahead of the thing. Okay, perfect. And there's that, and there's that. Excellent. Okay, so let's start on the next drink. What do you say? So this is orientation. And this is basically a Manhattan build, right? So on your longer sheet here, you'll notice anything to the right of this first column is the drinks we're making tonight. But like as you go down here, it's just more stuff you can do with similar ingredients or the same ingredients because you have them now. But from previous classes, you have orange bitters and Angostura bitters, and I know you have some sweet vermouth. So a Manhattan, which this is a riff on, is a good drink to make as well. Like let's say like you're doing this class and you're drinking too fast. So maybe you need like a drink in the middle. I'm kidding. You don't need another drink. So here's our orientation. We're going to do 3 dashes of Peychaud. Peychaud is sometimes referred to as like the New Orleans bitters or the bitters that you use in the Sazerac because that's its most famous use. But I think they're delicious and they really play well with cranberry. They play well with sweet red vermouth. They play well, as you'll see, with pomegranate in this cocktail. So we have 3 dashes. 1, 2, 3, right there in the bottom. And then we're going to do some syrup. So generally speaking, I like to do the syrup first. And then if we're doing acid or alcohol second, because that kind of helps clean out the jigger and you get all your delicious sweet ingredient in your drink instead of stuck in your jigger. And it makes it easier to clean the jigger out. Okay, so there's a 1/4 ounce of that and a 1/4 ounce of the Dolin Rouge. Okay. Both of these spirits would work just fine. You really might, if you like bourbon, this is going to work fine. However, we just referenced the Sazerac, right? And how rye whiskey is kind of like found a loving home in Peychaud Bitters. So we're going to try rye in this cocktail. That's 1 ounce. And a 2nd ounce. Now, if you're shopping for spirits at the store, something I noticed, which has no legal definition at all, is that it seems all of these brands now have decided that green is the color of rye. So on this, on Bullet, on all of most of the brands you can think of, when they have several different lineups, if one of them's green, it's usually the rye. That's going to be lovely. Okay. Then we're going to find 4 to 5 nice big cubes. Yeah. I'm going to throw in a 6 because I'm feeling froggy. Now, we went ahead and tasted it when we knew it was going to taste good because we worked on the recipe. But B, we tasted it warm just to make sure we didn't forget anything and that it was going to taste good. So really what we're doing now is tasting for cold, temperature and dilution. Neat is putting it harsh. I'm gonna grab, oh, I got one right here. It was gonna be more elegant. I'd use a Hawthorne strainer, but I don't have one handy. So I'm using this, excuse me, I'd use a julep strainer, but this Hawthorne strainer is at hand. There you go. You go there, you go there, you go there. And now I'm gonna do a simple twist. You can take a knife and just cut off a piece of the peel and express. Just try not to get any juice involved. Okay, so I'm going to take this channel knife, which is just basically built for this. Now, whenever you're doing this, always cut the peel over the drink. I don't know if you can see, this is reading on the, yeah, it's even reading on the video. You can see, if you look closely, all the orange mist that's hitting the top of this. And that's really an important flavor. So you don't want to like do it over here and then just plop this kind of dead piece of fruit in your drink. You really want to use that opportunity and then just touch the top of it with the colored side. Like, don't use the white pithy side. You want the side with orange, or if it's lemon, yellow. You can do it. There you go. There you have it. Oh, where's my sight line? There I am. Orientation. Hopefully you'll notice that the pre-orientation was pretty much an inverted version of orientation. So sometimes when you're in the mood for a nice stiff cocktail, this is great. If you want similar flavors, but you know, some you can roadie for a while, you can start with something lighter. Yeah, and that orange really comes through. Questions, comments? Oh, there he is. Cheers. Cheers, everybody. Dan, are you drinking yet, or are you still thinking?
No, we're on our third version of this. So yes, we're drinking.
Okay, good. Good. He's skipping ahead. Okay.
We wanted to
that's
try
fine. This is kind of a work at your pace, your own pace. You know,
we wanted to try a rye, a bourbon, and the 101. So,
okay, which did you prefer?
I don't know. I don't taste much after the 101.
Okay, that happens. Well, Dan, as you know, 101 is my favorite. So
yes,
I make no apologies for it.
No, it's great. I really like both of the first two drinks. They're really good.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay, I'm going to wash a couple of tools off. If anybody's got any questions, feel free. Otherwise, enjoy your cocktail for a second.
I like the rye with this because the spiciness is kind of a nice addition to it.
Well, I agree with you. But a guy who's already admitted that he likes rye more than bourbon, I really am not surprised by your your conclusion. Any other thoughts?
It's a close competition.
What was that?
I said that it's neck and neck almost. I mean, it's just a slight favoritism.
Excellent. I do like rye in this drink a lot. Just like I said, rye and Peychaud just love each other. So the Sazerac, famously a rye drink with Peychaud. A little less famously is that it started its life as a cognac drink. It was originally a cognac cocktail. In fact, it got its name from the ingredient, the base spirit that was in the drink. It was cognac and forgifie was the brand name. But phylloxera happened, and it was a grape louse. Louse is just the singular of lice. It devastated all the wine crops and most of the wine crops in Europe. And without wine, there's no brandy. So cognac is brandy. So what happened is they couldn't get cognac in New Orleans because, New Orleans quite famously was a French territory. They couldn't get any cognac, so they stopped drinking. No, that's not what happened. That never happens. That's never the answer. This is these moments when they can't get the supplies, when like people pivot, to use modern parlance, and they started using rye whiskey in this drink. And in a lot of cocktails in New Orleans got kind of changed over to rye. And honestly, I think rye and those flavors that like the hint of anise that you get in Peychaud, really, rye works better with it than cognac ever did anyway. Don't get me wrong, old school Sazerac house style Sazerac with cognac is delicious, but I think rye's better. Okay. Okay, just gussying up my station here. Okay. Making sure I cover the things we need to cover. We talked about bourbon, we talked about rye and what they are. We talked about vermouth, made a couple of cocktails, or at least 8 if you're in the Nagy's house. Okay. Should I give you another minute or two to sip on that cocktail, or have you guys all done it already?
Hey, Shannon, in the history of spirits, going back to the early 1900s, did the rye precede bourbon as the favorite, liquor?
Depending on where you were. Okay, so if you were, generally speaking, which is why New Orleans is a weird place, because it's kind of like, so in the South, famously Western Virginia, which is now Kentucky, they were awash in corn. So they made, before the liquor that was in that part of the country before bourbon was corn liquor, which is still a category. It's not as important, clearly, but it was the one that was dominant there in the South because that's what they had. In the Northeast, rye was the grain that was plentiful. So all of those original like urban cocktails that are whiskey were all rye cocktails. So the Manhattan, originally a rye cocktail.
Yeah.
All of those, like if you drank whiskey in the Northeast of America, you were drinking rye whiskey. Rye whiskey didn't really never made it out of prohibition really well. And then during the kind of the dark ages of American whiskey, which is the 1960s and 70s, it pretty much almost went the way of the dodo. Like pretty much almost nobody was making it except as a novelty to have as part of their line. But for most of them, it was more expensive to stop their continuous stills long enough to clean them out to start a different mash bill. And it just wasn't worth it. Like it wasn't worth making rye more than once a month. I think in the 70s, Wild Turkey was making rye somewhere like on the average of once a month, like one day a month. And they ran production 365 days. So like when they say once a month, I mean, it's like every 30 days they did one little thing of rye just for shits and giggles.
The story I heard, the story I heard was once a year.
Once a year. Well, I'm sure certain distilleries it came down to that, but I believe Wild Turkey was down, like specifically was once a month.
Might have been Beam.
What was that?
It might have been Beam that was once a year.
It might have been. It might have been.
Just the different level of production. Obviously.
Yeah, they probably got as much from that once a year as Turkey got 12 tons.
Yeah.
Beam makes a lot of juice.
What always surprises me is that I meet so many bourbon drinkers who claim to not like rye. And I feel like they're so close on the spectrum that if you like one, you kind of like the other.
The only time I generally speaking, agree with what you just said. The only exception is folks, when you ask them like 3 bourbons they like, they mention Weller and Makers. And, it's like, all of these are wheated bourbons. Maybe you do like something soft and sweet. And if and if they even say like things like, I don't like, and you mention like any kind of high rye, they don't like any of the Four Roses stuff, or they don't like Turkey, or they don't like any of the folks like, I'm like, okay, I'll agree. I believe them. And those folks, I just want to turn them on to Hennessy. Like you're going to love this. It's the cognac for bourbon drinkers. It's got a lot of barrel on it. It's delicious. And it doesn't have any of that spicy rye stuff that you clearly don't like. Anyway, yeah, I also, I'm a little more Catholic in my drinking. And I don't mean that as a slander for my Irish Catholic heritage. I meant like that in more of a, global appetites kind of way. Okay, well, I'm going to move on to the next cocktail unless we got any more questions or anything. Okay. Okay, the next one we're calling the San Fran Sour. This is something we just invented because it sounded delicious. And we're clearly making a New York sour. And a New York sour is just when you float a little red wine on top of your whiskey sour. Like, I don't have to make this sound more exciting or more original than it is. So a sour is, generally speaking, when we make our own sour mix, right? By putting lemon and sugar in the glass together. And then voila, you have a sour. And then we're just going to float some vermouth on top. So what we're going to do is we're going to shake this drink. We stirred the last one. We're going to shake this drink. We're going to strain it onto fresh ice into that double old fashioned that we talked about earlier. And then we're going to float that half an ounce of vermouth on top. So to make this really delicious and Californian, we're going to use some fig syrup we made out of mission figs. With all our syrups, of course, you want to shake them a bit because they're made of real stuff. And so sometimes it comes out of suspension, falls to the bottom. Just give it a quick shake. Okay. And a half an ounce of fig syrup. Just as before, we're going to put the sticky stuff in first. And then we're going to put the acid. In this case, we're using lemon. So a half ounce of lemon. If I'm working in the bar or if I'm making a lot of drinks, I would have already strained this lemon juice. But since I'm only making this one drink, I'm not going to bother with that because I'm going to use my fine mesh strainer when I'm making the drink at the end. So I know I'm going to strain this juice. But normally, make sure your juice is strained or you get like pits in your teeth. Okay, so now this is San Francisco. Also, I'm going to reach for the rye this time. Why not? For the last one, maybe we'll go with bourbon. Okay, we're gonna. Oh yeah. So when you're tasting a warm cocktail, it's a little odd because you have to imagine that the flavors are going to be muted both by the cold and the dilution. So if it's like, wow, that's really kind of sharp, it's like, okay, it's fine. You're about to mute that, just like watercolor. You know, like when you add a little water, it really tones everything down. So you have to kind of imagine that in your head, but you can tell when something's just, you're like, ooh, that's wrong. Or, I'm missing something. Oh, I forgot to put that in there. So it's important to taste your stuff before you make it. Okay. So we're going to get our nice cold double old fashioned glass. We're going to put some pretty cubes in there. Make sure they're some of your prettiest cubes. There you go. Because people are going to be looking at them. And we're going to shake this by sealing our Boston shaker together, and then give it a nice good shake. And then to break it, you just hit right at the top. We're going to strain through our fine mesh strainer. And then we're going to take that lemon and try to lay him right on top, right there. And then we're taking a half an ounce of our sweet Dolin Rouge. Pour them right on top of that lemon. This is going to be extra tasty. If you ever see a New York sour, it's a little more visually stunning because the red wine is like really red. But there you go. San Fran sour. There you go. Maybe a little more. How we like that one?
This is a beautiful drink.
Well, thanks.
It looks good.
It tastes even better. He's being exact with that jigger. I like it.
Getting there. Cheers.
I like it.
So Shannon,
You're
I'm
welcome.
using the Carpano Antica sweet
Yes.
vermouth, and it's very present on this one. Like
Yes.
it's good, but it's right there.
Yeah. Well, for two reasons. It's on top. And also it's a huge vermouth. Like a lot of folks argue that they prefer Dolin Rouge to Carpano because it's so much, it's less aggressive, it's less vanillin, it's just less extraction, it's less sweet. And some bars, I think Death & Co. actually blends the two. For their house sweet vermouth is a blend of 50-50 Dolin and Carpano, because Carpano they think is too big. Most of the time when I'm using red vermouth, I'm using it with whiskey, right? And whiskey's been aged in a barrel. Most of those barrels have been toasted, leaching a lot of vanillin, which is spelled a lot like vanilla, tastes a lot like vanilla. I don't have a problem with vanilla, vanilla in my sweet vermouth that I'm going to put in with my barrel aged spirit in a cocktail. Like it works very well, but it is big. Let's see. Let's take a peek over here. I know I'm not looking at the can. Who do we got here? Oh, there they welcome. Sorry. There you. How you doing? Hey, to welcome, I wanted to say thank you. Michael likes the mask. He's a big fan.
Oh, you're welcome.
Outstanding. She got you shaking drinks? You get home in time to shake?
Yeah, but I got a special guest. Yesterday was actually my brother's 50th birthday.
Oh.
So he's drinking the drinks today.
Oh, okay. Well, you can make more than one.
True.
Happy
Outstanding.
birthday.
Happy
was
birthday
that?
to your brother, sir.
Happy birthday.
September babies, September babies are the best.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Cheryl.
Happy
I don't think it's
birthday.
Cheryl's birthday.
Thank you.
Happy
Hi.
birthday from Tennessee.
I love it. Hey, Danny, what are you drinking? What is that bourbon?
Were you talking to me?
Yeah, well, you're the only Danny on the phone.
Okay, I didn't hear the.
I knew I liked you. I was wondering if you're going to cheat. Get some Tennessee whiskey. You give this to Beth. Okay. We have any questions, comments, concerns? Looks like you guys are just, there's no more fooling around with this group. It's like, okay, next drink.
I agree. This one is completely tasty.
Oh, okay. Good. Good.
Not partially tasty, but completely tasty.
Completely tasty. Excellent. Excellent. That's what I want to hear. Okay, we have a few more minutes. Well, we have as long as we take, you know how it is. But the last drink we're going to do is the way we break this up is usually there's 3 drinks. Today we snuck in a 4th, you know, to start off right. The first one, in this case, the second one, is that stirred cocktail. So we stirred our Manhattan variation, which we called orientation, which sounds like a good word to use around the beginning of the fall semester, doesn't it? The second one we did a San Fran sour, which is just our take on a New York sour. And then last but not least, we're going to do something. So normally we do a stirred cocktail, then something shaken and refreshing and crisp like this. And lastly, we do well, something ridiculous that you normally wouldn't do. So you wouldn't normally make yourself at home because it's either the technique is stupid or it's just a kind of a kitchen sink drink. So we're going to put everything we've touched so far in the one drink. Next, plus some egg, which those of you who've done a number of these know to expect. Okay, so.
And it's going to be a whole egg, not an egg white, the whole egg.
Yes, sir. You read that correctly. Yeah. So whole eggs, egg white drinks are real popular, whatever. But what predates them, of course, is flips. And a flip is a drink with an entire egg in it. But there's a lot of drinks we've had before with, eggnog has a whole egg in it. Like there's a lot of drinks that we know of that we just don't think of as, oh, that's too much. And if you balance the acidity and the other flavors, it's not like a Rocky movie. You know what I mean? You're not gonna feel like you need to go train. Okay, so for this guy, we're gonna start right above on that line, the ingredients kind of above the whole egg. We're gonna do all of those ingredients. We're gonna do a shake. We're gonna strain back into the glass we shook in. And then we're going to add the egg. And then we're going to shake it again. And then we're going to strain it, last but not least, into our target glass. If you're thinking, that sounds just too heavy, you can cheat and find yourself some soda water. Put a little soda water on the bottom of there, and the drink will end up being a little more refreshing. Just a little lighter. I'm not going to cheat. We're just going to go for it. Okay, so now if you look, it looks like if you're looking at your list of, it's this block right here called September's Flip. The names this time, so original. And if you'll notice, it looks like a lot of ingredients, but the measurements are pretty easy, right? It's all 1/2 ounces almost, except for a couple of deviations, but pretty much 5 ingredients are 1/2 ounce. So we're going to start with the syrups. I'm going to do 1/2 ounce of this fig after I give it a quick shake. Half an ounce of the grenadine, the pomegranate grenadine. For those of you who have not used this before, and you might want to look at the back, at the contents, the ingredients, pomegranate juice, sugar. Very complicated recipes we use. Okay, 1/2 ounce of the vermouth. And then our citrus. 1/2 ounce of lemon. 1/2 ounce of orange. Okay, now I'm going to use bourbon for this drink. This is not a drink where we're like, we really got to focus on the nuance of the whiskey. And I think this is a drink for folks. Anyway, both of these would work well. We're gonna go with our bourbon. Besides, I'm beginning to feel guilty about not showing it enough love. Okay, so once again, we're gonna shake and then strain right back into the mixing glass. I'm not going to bother double straining this. In fact, I'm going to hold the gate kind of as open as it possibly can be. Because I'm not worried about little ice shards or anything, because I'm okay with that. Because they're all going to be, it's all going to be gone by the time this drink is gone. I'm going to discard the ice right there and the Hawthorne Strainer. So now I have an empty, large portion of my Boston shaker, and the glass in the mixing glass has got the cold drink in it. Now we're going to take that egg. And we're taking the whole egg, so it's really easy. You don't have to I am washing my hands, though. I recommend you do the same. Okay, so we got a whole egg in there. We're going to take this, tip it over into there. This makes one drink. But this is an easy one to double. I'm going to go ahead and shake this as much as I can because I want a lot of fluff on this. Oh, yeah, that's good. Now, I've said this a number of times with eggs in general. It's not a count. Like the shakes I did before with ice, I pretty much always shake a drink like that many times. But with egg drinks, you're kind of shaking until you can feel it get either cloudy or fluffy, or you can just feel the texture change. I think we are there. Oh, yeah. I'm going to take my fine mesh strainer. You can cheat. You can throw this in the freezer if you want. Do we have a straw around here? Oh, there's one. Straw's nice in these kind of drinks. Last but not least, it says 6 drops of Peychaud. So we're going to do this. So drop, like as we said, is different. Come on. Than a dash.
Say, Shannon.
Sir.
So my consistency looks good, but my color is nothing like, well, okay, it kind of is now that it's settling a little bit.
Should look like that.
It looks a little bit like a knockoff Frappuccino.
Kinda, yeah. Yeah.
That's a comfort. I think I also have a much wider glass than yours.
You probably do. This is a very thin glass. So this is probably a 9-ounce or 10-ounce glass. It's got a lot of height. I'm glad I'm doing this drink at a bar because I don't have glasses this shape at my house. So if you don't, it's still going to taste just as good. How are we doing over here? Oh yeah, there it is.
But the
presentation on the case.
Presentation.
Okay, maybe I'll just try a little bit.
It's about 1.5 inches across the top.
This one, yeah. The top of this glass is about 1.5 inches across, maybe 1.25 inches. Yeah, it's. Oh yeah. There you go. Maybe just a little more.
That also is a just positively absurd amount of foam that you have there.
Yes. Yes. That was the point of shaking it so long.
He's a professional shaker. We are rookies.
What was that?
I said you're a professional shaker. We are
yes,
rookies. We are rookies.
I've seen this done on TV before. Okay. Dan, did you choose bourbon or rye in this drink? Or Don, excuse me. I'm reading your name wrong.
We did bourbon on this one.
Excellent. How are you enjoying it?
Buffalo Trace.
Okay.
It's delicious.
So glad you like it. Patty, Curtis? That background, you guys pop in and out. It's really freaky.
I know.
I'm working and making dinner and trying to drink all at the same time.
We've got another
Okay.
non-egg here, so.
Okay.
Also no orange
Dan?
juice.
I'm sorry.
Also no orange juice. It was a fail
Nope.
on procurement.
You did have the list of ingredients, didn't you?
Yeah. Actually, it's very good.
So the one thing you were able to find was the thing you said you couldn't find yesterday, which was whiskey.
Yes, I managed to finally dig some up. It was a struggle.
That's good. That's good. I'm glad you were able to. You rustle some up.
I did.
Dan,
Don't ask Cal.
Yeah, very nice. I've liked all the egg drinks, surprisingly. It's something I
think
wouldn't
it's so
do on a
surprising.
normal basis, but it's nice for these classes.
okay. I got Ray and Michael. How's yours coming out? What was that?
How's it coming out,
It's
Michael?
good. It's good to me.
Outstanding. Look at that. Okay. Okay.
You wanna
How's
try
the
this,
Tennessee
Steve?
contingent? Excellent. We got the thumbs up from Tennessee. Like it. The welcomes.
Ooh. that's nice.
Okay. We got thumbs up from,
Ooh, that
where do
tastes-
y'all live again? What is that town? It's like Creedmoor or something.
Idale.
Nightdale. Okay. It's the not Raleigh.
Correct.
Outstanding. Outstanding. Okay, I got, keep going down here. Check in with folks. Okay. Oh, this is the part where people aren't showing me who they are. Okay, well, I'm not going to ask you then. Okay, Carrie Allison, what's going on over here? I got a thumbs up. Oh, excellent, excellent. How do we use bourbon or rye?
We used bourbon.
Bourbon?
We went Wild Turkey 101 on that one. But the
Oh.
shaking is the key there, though. You do have a good shake. We got to practice on that one.
Well, it is, yeah, there's no substitute for getting it done. You can cheat. There is a workaround that I didn't show you, but I have on previous installments. This is your Hawthorne strainer, right?
Yep.
You're over here. Sorry. So if after you've already strained the drink and you're about to, before, this works with egg white drinks and flips. You just take this guy off this and you throw it in there with the egg, and then you put the fluid in on top. And when you shake it, this will act like a whisk. So it'll be easier for you to achieve the foam. Just a little, little trick. Okay. Okay. How are things in Cotatieville? Okay, good. We got a thumbs up there. Okay.
Yeah, no, this is a delicious drink, Shannon. Like all of your kitchen sink drinks. It's a little bit like candy.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's pretty easy to go down. We try to keep it so it's not like, you don't want to make drinks, even the ones that are on the sweet side, or they're like kind of like after dinnery kind of stuff. Even them, they shouldn't be cloying, right? They should be approachable. They should be, I don't want to have one sip and have so much like sugar on my tongue that I don't want another sip. Still has to balance. But yeah, this definitely a little sweeter than say that first drink. And if you'll notice, that's kind of how the drinks flow through the evening. They go from kind of the lighter, drier stuff. The stirred one is the booziest, right up front. And then we have that kind of bright, sour, usually in the middle. And then at the end, it's kind of the sweeter coda. Okay. Well, great. That's all my dog and pony show here, folks. Do we have, it's been nice taking the show on the road. This has been fun. Checking out, being behind other people's bars. It's nice.
Yeah, sure.
Does this last one substitute as a protein shake?
It does. It does. A health food. You got your protein.
That's what
in
I said.
there.
It counts
You
as
got
dinner.
your vitamin C, ascorbic acid.
I like
know?
that idea. I see this
So
as
it's
being
breakfast.
a post long run drink.
Okay, yeah, I drink this for health reasons. That's why I'm drinking it now. I don't think I had enough lunch.
Yeah.
So Shannon, if we still have a minute, can I show you our bar?
Sure, please.
All right, hang on.
I'm gonna be looking over here because this is my monitor.
All right, I hope it doesn't make anybody dizzy as I travel with you.
Okay, he's traveling. He's on the move.
Professor, thank you for the tutorial.
Of course, of course. Hey, I didn't even see you there.
Well,
Did you have your camera on off most of the night?
Most of the time absorbing the pearls as they came by.
Which spirit did you use in that last drink?
Whoa, not the last one. What I had some Forgiven for a while.
Okay. Don, I think I lost you somehow.
Can you see me?
There you are. Oh, there you are. Wow.
Wow.
That's how do I might have to ask Claire Catati to see if she can lock on to Don's screen. So there it is. Look at that.
So this is our whiskey bar at the house here.
Okay. Yeah. That's what's behind it. All right.
Yeah. And we absolutely love your classes.
Well, thank you. What do you got here? Ooh, more Willet.
Don't tell
Weller.
don't tell the state of North Carolina about that volume of alcohol.
That what?
Don't tell the state of North Carolina about the volume of alcohol he has there.
Oh, I wouldn't.
It's
dream
for
of it.
private
I don't know
consumption
where there
only.
is.
Not that much.
The problem is when you try and
Modest enough.
transport too much in one shot.
Well, I think he probably bought him
That's
one
true.
bottle at a time. That's the story I'm sticking to.
Hey, Don, what's your address?
Danny, that'd be a hell of a commute.
It's when you have to buy the personal salt license. That's the problem.
Yeah, but
You guys are welcome
He said
over
he doesn't need a big
anytime.
room. Just the space behind the bar is fine.
So Shannon, have you or Claire come up with the next cocktail class of what the theme will be?
We're going to do it bi-monthly, just because we can't. It's just a little much right now with trying to operate businesses. But we're probably going to do it. We're going to do it in November. We haven't settled on a spirit yet. Any
Smoked cocktails.
Well, it's November. You got to do something with a Thanksgiving sort of orientation,
we
whatever.
can certainly do that.
Oh, no
Sure.
pumpkin
Yeah,
spice.
it's gotta be something that we can have with our pie.
Okay. Well, I will say
Or you could try tequila.
we last year made, and I'm generally speaking against pumpkin spice, which isn't a thing, by the way. There is no such thing as pumpkin spice. It's just spice. it's just no. It's December's, like, it's the stuff that's in every Christmas cookie. It's cinnamon. If you ask what's pumpkin spice, it's like cinnamon, nutmeg. It's like, okay, so the stuff that's in everything. But we did make a pumpkin pie syrup with those spices and pumpkin, which was stellar and made kind of a convert of me.
How about gravy?
What was that?
How about gravy?
Great. Well, maybe you can just make some gravy on the side, kind of as a
shot of gravy on the
intermezzo.
side. That'd be good.
Shannon, we still have cranberry syrup, so maybe Thanksgiving is cranberry.
Oh, that's true.
Okay. Yeah, cranberry. We could do that.
Mix it up.
Okay. But what spirit do y'all think?
Rum goes good with those. Mezcal's always fun.
I was gonna say.
Okay.
A tequila would be nice.
We can do bourbon again.
Yeah. Well, we always have a good enough people that will do bourbon.
We're talking to a biased crowd.
We are.
I mean, it is.
Yeah, we'll probably either do like a brandy or a rum, or maybe even a soft scotch.
Gosh.
Let's see about your resume. Scotch. Okay, we heard a strong scotch.
But I still haven't seen a smoked cocktail class, which is really, really good.
What was that?
A smoked cocktail class.
Oh, okay. Well, that we can do with, okay. You know, I was just thinking about that today.
Hey, I like whoever said yes.
Scotch.
Okay, I like that idea.
Because then
I'm
you can
about
use any spirits, but we're just concentrating on smoke.
You can, except for I have to come up with drinks, and they
Oh,
have
I've
to
got a
be.
good one.
Most drinks aren't good with every spirit, you know, like they lean toward, hopefully, when we're making cocktails, we're making them around the idea of celebrating the spirit. You know, we're not ever trying to be the Joe Camel of booze. You know, we're not trying to hide the alcohol flavor. We're trying to say these are the inherent flavors in this spirit, and these other flavors play along really nicely with those flavors, not hiding them. So even with smoke, it's important. And that used to be far more popular. I mean, it was all the rage in like 2012. And I read this article in the paper about all these, every bar in New York in 2012, like every bar in New York had a smoked cocktail. And they're like, I wonder why. And they're like, oh, wait a minute. They banned smoking in bars last year. So people miss that part of their bar going experience. I don't miss that part of the bar going experience, but I do like smoke. So maybe we'll do a smoked cocktail one next time. I have a bunch of thyme I'm about to cut from my garden and just let it dry out. So maybe we'll have some dried thyme we can use. You can smoke cocktails with a number of different things as the thing that smokes. You can get one of those smoking guns or whatever. You can smoke wood chips. That's fine. But herbs tend to do a really nice thing. And they're really easy to use because a little dried thyme, you light it, you pop it underneath a glass. It extinguishes itself after like sticking that smoky flavor all over the glass. So when you make the drink, you just pour it in this smoke-filled glass and it does the trick.
You have
one
to
of the ways
now. With that description, you have to.
Okay. I
That sounds
still
amazing.
Okay. I think I know where we're going with this. I think we got some ideas for the next class.
Okay, if you're gonna do monthly, then how about for January to start out 2022? Let's do something with bubbles.
Bubbles. January
that
bubbles.
idea.
I love everything about that.
Yeah. So
I love
start
everything
the new
about
year, put 2021, behind a little bit, and let's start forward after the smoke, of course, in November.
After the smoke clears, it's time for bubbles.
I think that makes perfect sense, right? So you've got smoke for fall and bubbles for the new year.
I love
This
it.
is perfect. Okay.
I love it.
Yeah, let's
So
all hope that the
Shannon-
smoke is cleared by January.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus Christ. Really.
Here's hoping.
Oh,
For the folks who have smokers, have you ever smoked water and then made ice cubes out of them?
Yes.
Isn't that
no, I
great?
haven't smoked water.
It is wonderful.
We smoked about 4 bottles of Campari and used that as kind of our smoked bitter for a while one time.
That was really good, Shannon. I remember that.
Glad you remember that. That was a long time ago. So we haven't had a chance to do it because I haven't had like a smoker that had, was this indirect smoke, which is what you need for that. Actually, Rob Mariani, who worked with us at the time, who's now moved to Puerto Rico and apparently doesn't own a shirt if you follow him on Instagram. He rigged up like the dryer vent duct tubing over his barbecue grill into a cardboard box to smoke the Campari. It worked perfectly.
So Shannon, what's your favorite whiskey? I mean, if you had to pick one.
That's not fair.
I know it's not. I'm just curious though. And you don't have to answer.
My favorite bourbon is Wild Turkey 101. And I say that because A, I think it's delicious. B, I love the fact that people underrate it. There's no FOMO. There's no fear of missing out with Wild Turkey because it's always there. So people are like, oh yeah, it's Wild Turkey, but I have this bottle of, no offense, Don, I have this bottle of Buffalo Trace. I've done this at least 3 times to people and had them taste Buffalo Trace next to Wild Turkey 101 blind, and never has someone picked Buffalo Trace. And it's,
All right.
it's
So
still,
to be fair,
Buffalo Trace
to
is delicious
respond to
juice,
that.
and clearly, looking at their high end, they're one of the best, inarguably one of the best distilleries in the world.
Right.
But
to respond to that, Buffalo Trace, the base model Buffalo Trace is really for mixing. I mean, I wouldn't be doing that as a straight drinker. I mean, but Weller's, Stag,
exactly.
Eagle Rare. I mean, there's so many other better sipping bourbons, but Buffalo Trace for like making a mixed cocktail is probably.
Yeah. I would argue, even to mix a cocktail, I'd prefer 101.
Oh, fair enough. You
But
are the
once
authority.
again, it's delicious juice. So I like for American whiskey, bourbon, I say 101 because it's hitting above its price point. Now, this is not the like, what's your favorite of all time? Is Boss Hog more delicious than 101? Of course it is. It's also $500 a bottle. So when you ask what's your favorite, Boss Hog is amazing, but has no utility. Like I can't actually just afford to drink that. So what I like about some of the, and other ones, as I said at the beginning, in American whiskey, I tend to prefer high rye mash bills for bourbon and high corn mash bills for rye. So the folks at Four Roses, they're small batch and single barrel. That single barrel is in the 40s, I think. Don,
Yeah.
do you know? Can you back me up on that's delicious.
It's
amazing.
one of my standard collections. So
it's amazing and it's really affordable,
Yeah.
especially for a single barrel. So I like that a lot. Pappy from the Beam House. I like Old Grandad 114 is sublime. Even their Old Grandad Bottled and Bond is really, really good. A lot of cherry on those two whiskeys. So I like those. Now that's all bourbons. If you're going to rye,
I mean, you can't beat Michter's. Michter's is pretty much to me the gold standard, or at least for your everyday drinker. It's not a special occasion rye, but Michter's, especially the Michter's 10-year, is a solid choice for a rye.
I need to give that another try. It has been a couple of years since we had it. I think we sold out of it before March of 2020. So I haven't gotten it since, but that'll be on my next that'll be on my liquor order next week. If that doesn't mean I'll get it.
Well, and talk about affordable, like your Michter's straight rye, I think is like $37, $38 a bottle. So it's easily
Michter's
available.
Remind me, because they don't is Michter's a distillery, or are they like a
yes?
So they make their own juice.
They've started making their own juice.
Okay. The last time I had them, they did not. So it's been a while. I need to go ahead and steal from you that suggestion to try Michter's.
Don't forget that Jack Daniels.
I've already forgotten it. Except for we were talking last night about the fact that Jack Daniels makes some amazing products, but none of them are Old Number 7, which I'm not a fan of. But clearly, they know what they're doing, because Old Number 7 sells more. There's more bottles of Jack Daniels Old Number 7 sold than the entire category of bourbon.
Wow.
So they know what they're doing. I just don't generally like any of it, except for I had a single barrel rye from Jack Daniels that was just amazing, like really delicious. Not necessarily categorically correct, like it didn't really taste like rye, but it was undeniably good. As far as other whiskeys go, the stuff that, I mean, this is like a repeating narrative of folks that make their money on a certain whiskey that I don't like, but they also make amazing products that I do. Jameson, who I do not like at all, makes some of the best Irish whiskey on the planet. That Middleton stuff they make, the spots, especially the yellow and blue in Irish whiskey, are delicious. The Redbreast 12 and 15 are amazing. I just don't like their regular entry Jameson at all. But I mean, they make amazing Irish whiskey.
is a very smooth whiskey, right? When compared to a bourbon or a rye, like Irish whiskey is a very smooth drinking whiskey.
Irish whiskeys tend to be a lot smoother than American whiskeys, mostly because of the finishing, the way they do it. They're not as they don't have.
I went faster than some.
What was that? Okay. Irish whiskeys tend to be more subtly flavored, let's just say, than American whiskeys, for a myriad of reasons tied to production, how they make the whiskey. traditionally and how they make it. Most of it's column stilled, except for the ones that I named check, which are all pot stilled. And those are, and most Irish whiskeys are triple distilled, where most American whiskeys are continuous stilled now, but based on a flavor profile of dual distillation. So they're just smoother.
So can you explain the difference between those? I assume continuous distilled means it just keeps going through and through and through versus.
Yeah. So when you think of a still, you think of that like pot, right? With a little curly Q coming off the top.
Yep.
That's an Olympic pot still. That's the original still. They came up with it in Persia, like literally 2,000 years ago now. But in the 1800s, folks actually in Ireland started coming up with column stills. And what they would do is they'd send, instead of coming out and going into the condenser coil, which is that little curly Q, which basically it does what it says. It condenses. It takes the gas and lowers the temperature of it by introducing enough metal surface area that when it hits the metal, it turns back into a liquid, right? So that's what that curly Q does. So what they did is they took that thing off the top and put a whole column full of all these plates that the steam has to go through, and it's continually condensing and redistilling, condensing and evaporating. So they do that over and over and over and over. So they're basically essentially scrubbing the ethanol as it goes up, because ethanol, the lighter spirits. Okay, I'm gonna back up one more time. Alcohols, there are many kinds of alcohol. Ethanol is the one you want to drink. The lighter stuff is the stuff you go blind drinking, right? And then so there's acetane, or it's this, the stuff that you put the stuff that's in nail polish, and then there's the stuff that you remove nail polish with. Both of those are alcohols, different kinds of alcohols. There's methanol, there's all kinds of different alcohols. They're all present when you make a low alcohol solution, like a beer or a wine. So there's no alcohol made during the distillation process. It's all made during fermentation. So you got to start with beer or wine or some low alcohol solution to make, and then you distill that low alcohol solution. And all distillation is a way of taking the ethanol and separating it from water and other congeners. Fancy way of saying alcohols I don't want. You separate the ethanol out. So the way you do that is you put this low alcohol solution in the bottom of that still, right? And you turn the heat on slowly, and you raise the heat gradually. Why you're doing that is because all of those different alcohols and then finally water have different boiling points. The lighter alcohols have smaller molecules. They evaporate first. So if you're just doing a traditional still where it comes through and it comes out, that's called the heads. So the lighter alcohols are called the heads. You don't want to drink those, you will go blind. You can clean things with them, but don't drink. Then the heart, which is ethanol, is the stuff you want to drink. And then the tails are those heavier alcohols. Now, after that is water. So all those boiling points go down, and then the water boils off. Now, because it's all in one pot, and this is not perfect, you'll boil some water off with the heads. It's not clean. So what the column does is it operates continually. It's going through these plates. And now they have these computer-driven stills that operate 24/7, and it's distilling over here, and it's injecting the fluid in the middle of the still. So it's falling down and then being brought back up by more steam, and it's going through all these plates, and it's scrubbing, and they can literally reach into these stills and pull out just the ethanol. So column stills tend to make a lot cleaner spirit. I hope I answered your question. So column stills make a cleaner spirit. If you want, here's the thing, but this is whiskey. This is bourbon, right? And this is rye. But what I'm about to say is true for both of these American whiskeys. If you want to call your product bourbon or rye, you cannot distill it above 160 proof, which is 80% pure ethanol. if you want to make this, gluten-free, dog-friendly vodka, by law, you have to distill it above 190, right? So even in Ireland, where they usually distill their whiskey to 189, they still don't take it to 190. Because once you take it to 190, it's called neutral grain spirit, meaning it has no flavor. Where it's important, if you're going to talk about corn and rye and all these things in the mash bill, if you distill it too high, you've stripped out every indication that that was your source material. So if we're talking about one of the reasons that Irish whiskey and those column stilled whiskeys in Ireland are different than, even though they're using continuous columns in America, is because they're pulling the distillate off at a much lower proof to ensure that it actually still tastes like other stuff. Now, that other stuff is not pure alcohol, right? So there's congeners, there's heavy stuff in there that you really don't want. So that's one of the reasons that we char the barrel. People think that the barrel, like we talked about earlier, people think all that flavor is coming from that sexy char. It's not. The char really is operating like a Brita water filter.
Yeah.
Like you think about a charcoal water filter. You char the inside of the barrel, and as the fluid goes into the wood, when it's cold and it gets pushed out of the wood, I got that backwards. Sorry. Falls into the wood when it's hot and gets pushed out back into the barrel when it's cold. When it shrinks, you keep crossing that char, and every time you cross the char line, the char helps remove, attach itself, scrub the heavy alcohols out, so you get softer and softer whiskey. I hope I answered your question.
I love it.
I mean, more than
Yes.
answered the question.
That was awesome.
I will say this for people who love Blanton's or are obsessed with the quest for Blanton's, right?
just don't care.
It's good bourbon. I will say that much more available, much more affordable, and probably equally good given the price. Eagle Rare is absolutely 100%.
I think Eagle Rare is
bourbon.
amazing. Unfortunately, it's North Carolina, so it's almost never in stock.
That is not true in Chatham County. I probably
Oh.
shouldn't say that too loud, but
No, you shouldn't,
It's
Don.
available probably about once every 2 or 3 months.
Okay, we're gonna have to talk after this done. So, yeah, Blanton's, and I'll keep this short, but Blanton's deserves a lot of credit because Blanton's almost single-handedly brought back bourbon. Bourbon was the bastard stepchild. Like no respectable hoity-toity banker bro was going to drink bourbon in the 80s, right? They were drinking Macallan. It's this new single malt stuff. You got to hear about it. It was Elmer T. Lee, who was the master distiller, came out with Blanton's, invented the category of single barrel with that product, and said, no, it's not, we're not trying to, this is not a budget whiskey. This is something that's refined. This is a special product. It's a special packaging. And it was inarguably delicious. And it was like 86 proof, I think. So it was right at the same proof of those scotches that people were drinking. So he single-handedly brought back and legitimized American whiskey again, for like a collector, for somebody who's not just drinking whiskey and Coke or just do shots. So he deserves a lot of credit. And it's good, but yeah, like once again, are we chasing this? Like, do I like it because it's amazing, or do I like it because I can't get it?
Okay.
Am I just going to brag about how much I spent for this bottle on the secondary market? Like Pappy is delicious, but and it's worth $120 they sell for it at the distiller, but it's not worth the $1,200 you pay for it online. That's
right. Hey, can you talk about?
What was that?
Yep.
If there was a question there, I'm not hearing it.
So Shannon, I started to say, cycling back to the discussion about Jack Daniels. I don't know if you caught the article that they have now, Jack Daniels has released a limited release 10-year that should be hitting the ABC stores in North Carolina soon. And it's their ultimate sipping whiskey. we've been looking for it, haven't seen it yet.
Okay.
But it's interesting. So I guess we have to get a better brand of Coca-Cola to dilute with it.
Yeah. We've never carried Jack Daniels at Alley 26 for a couple of reasons. In the past, I always said, well, when I first opened, I just didn't have enough money to buy a lot of stuff. So B, we weren't trying to be the bar for everybody to walk in and order. We were trying to like define a cocktail bar and let people like have to address the fact that we were a cocktail bar, right? And so if you just say yes to a Jack and Coke, then they'll never understand what you're doing. And if they can get that anywhere, there's no reason for them to come back. B, I wasn't carrying Coca-Cola. And so if I carry Jack Daniels, I said, yeah, I have Jack. They're like, I have a Jack and Coke, please. I'm just going to piss them off anyway, because they're not going to get Coke. And I think one time in the entire history of the bar, did somebody try to order Jack and not want Coca-Cola. So I'm not besmirching their drink, but we weren't carrying those products. And Jack Daniels, Tennessee whiskey is not traditionally a cocktail spirit, right? Rye whiskey was the spirit of the North, and bourbon was the spirit of the South, except for New Orleans. So we were leaning into craft cocktails, leaning into like learning from historical cocktails. So Jack Daniels wasn't my stuff. And I still don't carry it because I just don't think it's very good. Sorry.
Have you tried the Sinatra or the single barrel?
I'm sorry, the Scotch or single barrel what?
Sinatra, they have a Sinatra and they have a single barrel.
Okay, so you should know this about me. My dog is named Frank Sinatra.
Oh my God, I
what
love you
said-
even more, Shannon.
So what I said when I first opened was like, Frank Sinatra is dead. He's the last person I cared whose opinion about Jack Daniels I cared about enough to carry the spirit. So he's dead. I don't have to carry the spirit. All that being said, John and I were talking, the Bull City Bourbon Club picks single barrels, right? And then if you're a member of the club, which is very hard to get into now because they do a good job, they will, you can get these single releases, and they got a release of Jack Daniel's single barrel rye. I was skeptical. I got it anyway. It is inarguably delicious whiskey. So they know how to make good whiskey. If you're not in this club, I'm sorry.
Now we
You're
want
probably not gonna
one in
get
the
into
club now, Shannon.
Well, you can't get in, but this is what you can do. On those Whiskey Wednesdays, every time they come out with a new release, we get it and we pour it at cost. So even if you can't get a bottle, you can taste the juice with me making no money. So please order another drink after that.
So Shannon, can you tell us the difference between whiskey spelled with an E and whiskey not spelled with an E?
Yes, spelling. Sorry, small joke. So here's the thing. There is no legal definition. Generally speaking, as like a rule of thumb, for the main 5 whiskey producing nations, if the nation's name has an E in it, they spell it with an E. If the nation's name doesn't, they don't. So Ireland, America, E.
Yes.
Scotland, Canada, Japan, no E.
Huh.
That doesn't work once you get farther afield in these other countries. And even in this country, there are certain, hold on, let me find it. There are certain obnoxious jokers that don't use an E because they're, sorry, right there. Because they're just being fun. So there is no, the general thought process is the folks in Canada were more Scotch and the folks in the Southland here were more Irish. So
Right.
they used the spelling that they used to use. But even in the regulatory law from the 1890s, they didn't use an E in the spelling. So even in American law, they use both.
So if you get a single malt Scotch that's truly Scottish, it won't have an E in the word.
No, of course not. Here, let's try. If only I had a Scotch nearby. To my right over here. Oh, there's, single malt or not. Sorry, my microphone is here holding me, but yes. Oh, here it is. Here's a delicious single malt whiskey, Scotch whiskey.
Mm.
Yeah. There you go. So Scotland, no.
Huh.
Ireland, Let me see if you can see it. There it is.
Yep.
Can you see it?
Uh-huh.
There. Ireland, yes. Generally speaking, America, yes, but there are a couple of famous exceptions to that rule. I think Old Forester and Makers are the two most popular non-E whiskeys.
Huh.
It's a cool little factoid.
Cool. Meaningless, but cool. Okay. Well, I appreciate y'all hanging with me.
Yeah, thank you.
And if we don't have
Thank
any more
you,
questions, what was that?
Oh, I just said thank you.
Oh, well, thank you.
Thank you.
I will,
One last question.
please.
Was my fine mesh strainer too fine? It was just really taking a lot.
No,
Or
no.
did I
So what
get too much
what I
foam?
do, generally speaking,
Did I get
see,
too much
look.
foam?
you're trying to, if you don't have anything in the strainer, that means you didn't bother straining it. So there's got to be something left, right? So what you want to do to get most of it out, though,
It was just
is you can just take it when you have it over here. You
Yes,
just tap on the side,
okay.
and it'll come. You'll keep going. But it's really important for me to use a fine mesh strainer, especially with egg cocktail. That way, I make sure there's no shell in there.
Got it. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Of course, it's Shannon.
Thanks, Shannon.
Thanks for slumming it tonight, Shannon. Thanks for slumming it tonight.
Slumming it
Yeah.
down the road
Rough-
from Hillsborough, you mean?
Yeah, I know, yeah.
Yeah, if you were any further west, you'd be in Carborough, and I don't know.
Yeah, that's right. I could be in the People's Republic of Carborough.
Thanks
You
again.
should be so lucky.
Thank you. Appreciate it, y'all.
Yeah, this
Thank you
was
so
great,
much.
Shannon. I think
Thank you, Shannon.
Again, it was wonderful.
Yeah, and no
Yep.
better
Thank you.
thanks. See everybody later.
I think
Okay.
Shannon, in